Picture the scene, a tableau of global power and influence. The air is thick with anticipation, the weight of international relations hanging heavy in the balance. It's a beautiful, sun-drenched day in Brasilia, Brazil, the vibrant capital playing host to a pivotal gathering of world leaders. The city's modern architecture gleams under the clear sky, a symbol of progress and collaboration. The leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, each a titan in their own right, are present, ready to engage in crucial discussions that could shape the future of global economics and geopolitics. China and South Africa, the BRICS nations, a formidable alliance representing a significant portion of the world's population and economic output, are united in purpose, or so it seems. They are gathered, likely discussing complex issues of global finance, trade agreements, and sustainable development, all fueled by copious amounts of strong, dark coffee. The atmosphere is professional, courteous, but underneath tensions simmer. Suddenly, a ripple of subtle vibrations. Phones buzz to life across the table, disrupting the carefully orchestrated calm. A tweet, a single disruptive message from Donald Trump, a proposed 10% tariff, a blanket levy on all goods imported from these 5 powerful countries. The implications are staggering. The summit's mood shifts instantly, the air growing heavy with uncertainty and apprehension. The carefully constructed facade of unity begins to crumble, from diplomatic discourse to stunned disbelief. The leaders exchange glances, a silent language of concern and perhaps a hint of anger. Trump, seemingly from afar, perhaps on a golf course, has just hijacked the entire international agenda with a single, impulsive tweet. The power of social media to disrupt global affairs is on full display. It's the diplomatic equivalent of crashing a meticulously planned party and flipping the cake, scattering frosting and ruining the carefully curated atmosphere. The BRICS leaders, caught mid-discussion, their prepared statements now rendered almost irrelevant, now face a completely new and unexpected crisis, one manufactured with 280 characters or less. Trump's move isn't just a matter of policy, it's a calculated act, it's performance art, a headline-grabbing spectacle designed to dominate the news cycle. The underlying message, even when he's physically absent from the room, he's still the one setting the agenda, pulling the strings from afar, threatening a full-blown trade war with nations representing a fifth of the world's population with a single tweet. That's not just bold, that's sheer, unadulterated audacity. Mission accomplished, at least in terms of media attention. Every news report about the BRICS summit, regardless of its original intent, now leads with Trump and his disruptive tweet. The world watches, captivated and perhaps a little horrified by the sheer audacity of it all. So, what exactly is a 10% tariff in practical terms? Let's break it down and see what it really means for the flow of goods and services across borders. Think of it as a tax on imports, a fee levied on goods as they enter a country. It's a way for governments to influence trade and protect domestic industries. Essentially, it's a cover charge for foreign goods, making them more expensive for consumers and businesses within the importing country. This can shift demand towards locally produced alternatives. Trump loves tariffs. They were a cornerstone of his economic policy. To him, they're the ultimate tool, a lever to pull in international negotiations and a way to reshape trade relationships. Simple, loud, and effective, at least in theory. They send a clear message, both domestically and abroad. His presidency was a trade war roller coaster, especially with China, marked by escalating tariffs and retaliatory measures. The global economy felt the turbulence. Tariffs on steel washing machines, you name it. From raw materials to finished goods, a wide range of products were subject to these import taxes. The result? What were the actual consequences of these policies? Retaliation. Other countries responded with their own tariffs, creating a cycle of escalating trade barriers. Higher prices for consumers as businesses passed on the cost of tariffs. Inflation became a growing concern. And American businesses caught in the crossfire, struggling to compete in a global market disrupted by trade wars. The justification, the rationale behind these aggressive trade tactics: BRICS countries are cheating the U.S. with unfair practices, taking advantage of lax trade regulations. Trump's narrative is clear and unwavering, a consistent message repeated throughout his presidency. America's been the world's piggy bank, constantly giving and receiving little in return, according to this view. And he's here to smash it open, to disrupt the status quo, and demand a fairer deal for American workers and businesses. Economists may protest, pointing to the potential negative consequences of protectionist policies. But the message is simple and campaign-ready, resonating with voters who feel left behind by globalization. Be tough, look strong, win at trade. It's a powerful and easily digestible slogan, but a blanket tariff on 5 huge economies, each with its own unique characteristics and trade relationships, that's using a sledgehammer for surgery, a blunt instrument applied to a complex and delicate situation. Brazil isn't China. Its economy is structured differently, and its trade practices are distinct. And India isn't Russia. Their economic systems and geopolitical priorities are vastly different. Lumping them together ignores reality, overlooking the nuances of international trade and the specific challenges each nation faces. Subtlety isn't the point. Detailed analysis and careful consideration are secondary. The goal is spectacle, not nuance. It's about creating a dramatic display of power. It's about projecting strength, signaling a willingness to confront perceived unfairness in global trade. Even if the fallout is messy, even if the consequences are unpredictable and potentially damaging. This is economic policy as shock and awe, designed to grab attention and force a reaction. The details are fuzzy, the long-term implications are uncertain, and the potential risks are downplayed. But the headlines are loud, dominating the news cycle and shaping public perception. And that's exactly how Trump likes it. A clear message, a strong image, and a captivated audience. So what is BRICS? It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a block of emerging economies. Think of them as the Avengers of global finance, but with more spreadsheets. Their goal boost cooperation, trade, and create alternatives to Western institutions like the World Bank. They want more control, less dependence on the US dollar. Trump's unpredictability has only unified them further. The summit's agenda shield themselves from US shocks, reduce reliance on American markets, and push for a multipolar world. China and Russia especially want to challenge US dominance. Trump's tariff threat? It's proof of why they want alternatives. The summit was meant to show unity. Trump's tweet made it a crisis. In the complex arena of international trade, a key question arises. Why would anyone threaten a trade war with BRICS? What's the underlying strategy, and what motivates such a bold move on the global stage? To truly understand the rationale behind this approach, you have to get inside the mind of the decision maker. In this case, we need to understand Trump's mindset, his motivations, and his unique perspective on global economics. For him, trade deficits aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet, they're perceived as personal insults, a direct reflection on America's standing in the world. Fixing these perceived imbalances isn't just policy, it's personal. It's about pride, reputation, and a sense of restoring what he sees as lost glory. He firmly believes that America has been losing out in global trade, that unfair practices have eroded its manufacturing base and diminished its economic power. Therefore, in his view, any action taken to correct that perceived imbalance, to level the playing field, is not only justified, but necessary. Warnings from economists and trade experts about potential negative consequences, largely irrelevant in the face of his conviction. He operates on the principle of fighting perceived aggression with real aggression, meeting challenges head-on, and not backing down from confrontation. The underlying message to BRICS nations is clear. Play by our rules, adhere to our standards of fair trade, or don't participate in the game at all. Domestically, this stance translates into a political win, resonating with a specific segment of the electorate. It projects an image of being tough on foreign competitors, standing up for American interests against global rivals. It's framed as fighting for American workers, bringing back jobs, and revitalizing the manufacturing sector. It serves as a powerful rallying cry for voters, particularly in key swing states where manufacturing has declined. But beyond economics and politics, it's also fundamentally about power, asserting dominance, and maintaining control on the world stage. The ongoing discussions within BRICS about creating a common currency, a potential alternative to the US dollar, represent a direct challenge to this power. This talk directly threatens the long-standing dominance of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. The dollar isn't just currency, it's a symbol of America's superpower status, its economic might, and its global influence. Therefore, any challenge to the dollar's supremacy is perceived as a red line, a direct threat to American power. Trump's imposition of tariffs serves as a warning shot across the bow, a clear signal of his willingness to use economic tools as weapons. The message is unambiguous. Challenge us, undermine our interests, and you will face significant economic consequences and potential retaliation. It's a high-stakes game of chicken, a global chess match where the ultimate prize is influence, control, and the future of the international order. The move inevitably dominates headlines, captures media attention, and effectively reframes the entire debate around trade and global power dynamics. And for Trump, that's often the primary objective: to control the narrative, to set the agenda, and to project an image of strength and unwavering resolve. Trump's tariff threat sent shockwaves worldwide. BRICS nations responded with outrage and unity. China issued stern warnings, Russia smirked, Brazil fumed, and India and South Africa scrambled. In Europe, leaders braced for economic fallout, knowing a US BRICS trade war would hit them too. American businesses panicked. Tariffs mean higher costs, disrupted supply chains, and lower profits. CEOs and the Chamber of Commerce called it counterproductive. Business speak for disaster. The global economy is interconnected. No one is insulated from this kind of shock. Trump's tweet didn't just target BRICS, it rattled the entire world. The group chat, blown up. What happens if Trump follows through? A multi-front trade war erupts. BRICS would retaliate, tariffs on American goods, closed markets, lost jobs. Global markets would tank. Uncertainty would trigger sell-offs and panic. Supply chains, built over decades, would be thrown into chaos. Companies would scramble to adapt, facing massive costs and disruptions. The era of cheap global goods could end overnight. Geopolitically, BRICS would unite further, accelerating efforts to bypass the US-led order. Allies would be alienated, adversaries emboldened. The US could find itself isolated, its influence waning. In trying to assert strength, Trump could hasten America's decline. The stakes, the entire global system. It's a gamble with the world economy on the table. Now, the dollar. For decades, it's been the world's reserve currency, America's economic superpower. The US borrows cheaply, imposes sanctions, and dominates global finance. BRICS, especially China and Russia, want out. Their plan, a new currency for trade among themselves, bypassing the dollar. Every transaction in this new currency chips away at US dominance. Trump's tariffs make alternatives more attractive. Why rely on a currency controlled by a volatile partner? Ironically, his actions are the best ad for de-dollarization. If BRICS succeed, the US faces higher borrowing costs, less leverage, and weaker sanctions. The dollar's dominance won't vanish overnight, but a trade war could speed its decline. The world could shift to a multi-currency system, reducing American power. Trump's move, meant to project strength, could undermine the very foundation of US influence. The consequences would be profound and lasting. The currency cage match has begun. So, is this genius strategy or reckless chaos? For Trump's supporters, it's bold leadership standing up to unfair competition fighting for American jobs. For critics, it's a dangerous gamble, risking recession, alienating allies, and destabilizing the global order. The global economy is fragile, a multi-front trade war could break it. Will this be a negotiating tactic or the start of a new era of conflict? Will it bring jobs back or backfire spectacularly? The world is watching, hoping someone knows the rules of this game, or at least that the pieces don't end up scattered on the floor.